Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled Time-Space Continuum, where the woo-woo meets the Bible. Of course, you can find my guests at gold2020forecast.com and also here on YouTube at gold2020forecast. Mr. Bo Polney, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, and I look forward to this talk, Jean-Claude. I think it's really wonderful how we try to bring, two different perspectives into one view.
That's what I love about
I enjoy speaking with you.
Me too. And that's what I love about bringing different points of views on the show so that we can get the bigger piece of the picture and we can agree to be gentlemen about some of the things we agree with and some of the things we don't agree with. But at least we have a conversation and our audience is really, really cool on supporting these types of endeavors also on the show. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here tonight on this live interactive show. And stay open-minded. We're going to talk about some cool stuff, a little bit of woo, a little bit of Bible, and of course, a lot of finance. There is a lot going on in the world of finance today. Bo, oh my God, since you and I last met, crazy times, especially what's coming out of China right now. Of course, the debt ceiling here in the United States. It seems that it's a frantic pitch here towards perhaps the finish line or perhaps the train going off the rails, if we want to call it that. So I know you have a brand new presentation tonight. Folks, I've just updated the description box below this video. So if you click on show more, you'll see the link and you can follow along with us here with Bo's presentation. And what I'm going to do is bring that link also here live into the live chat section so you guys can click on it live there as well. All right, Bo, let's dive into this. I noticed there's quite a bit of new material here at the forefront of this presentation. Let me give you a little bit of room here to start setting the stage for the audience.
Yeah, no, the best thing I can describe is, everything that I've done in prior presentations that's speaking with you, that's all in the PDF presentation that you've linked there, that's below. And typically I'll add things that I get. And so the most, I'd say the top 5 pages right now of this presentation are probably the most newest information that I've gotten. And it's rather, to me, it's rather incredible how this all is coming together, Jean-Claude. It really is exciting. And so, what I would describe, like on page 1, probably the best place to start would be page 1. And really it's the title. And the title of the presentation would be What Began in November of last year, 2020, ends this November, 2021. Let's turn this off here.
Okay.
And so because of that simple concept, it's a cycle or a circle is 360 days or 360 degrees. And on our show of past, we have spoken about how a degree can represent a day. And so in essence, we run a 12-month, and biblically, there's 12 months of the year, 12 apostles. 12 is a completionary number. So what started, and we've talked about this before in the show, we talked about where the world went to, November, and we went left. That was in our prior presentation. It was a fork in the road. We went the wrong way.
Right.
And so we have to come back to November. And then we go the other direction in the correct way. So the world is about to experience mass chaos, pandemonia, freak out sessions, because everybody believes, I don't want to say that, the rock hard, Christians that refuse to shift, and like yourself, who know what happened, and many of your viewers who are on this show, Jean-Claude, are all awake. So that group refuses to shift. Okay. But there's many in the middle, and there's a whole bunch on the other side. You just don't see the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we get back to November, right, when these things come out and the truth gets exposed, that is just, it's going to be pandemonium in the world, because the ones that have to be woken up to the truth are going to be freaking out because they don't understand what just happened. So it's going to be wild.
You've been saying this on your show, my show as well. We need to have compassion for a lot of these people here who, like you say, are on this precipice of having to swallow maybe this really big red pill in a very short amount of time. So I know there's a lot of people in our surroundings who are going to get hit by this. And perhaps some of us will have the tendency to see, you see, I told you so. But really, at this point in the stage, in this last stage of the game here, perhaps that's not the best energy to hold. I think compassion for everyone else as they're waking up to this and trying to struggle to understand what happened, they'll be looking to you guys here watching the show who've been doing this research to try to be a rock in that storm of theirs as they do this rude awakening process. So Bo, I agree with you, man. And I think there's so many things coming to a head here, and apparently it's all going to happen at the same time. That's what everybody on my show is talking about. The psychics, the remote viewers, they're all seeing all of these events here culminating sometime between maybe actually now or maybe October 10th to maybe the end of October, mid-November here, seeing something big happening. So let's start laying down some track here as to what you see coming up here in the next days and weeks for the audience.
So I think the most prophetic thing that I just got this past week is right on page 1. And it states, "On this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail." So for generations now, everybody's who's read that, it's Matthew 16:18. And everybody who's read that and who's Christian, who understands or believes they understand what that states, they've always interpreted that because that's when Christ gave the name to Peter and changed his name. So everybody believes that that the church, Catholic Church, was built on the shoulders of Peter, and on this rock, meaning Peter, I will build my church. So this is the most probably prophetic thing that I've ever gotten, and I believe this to be 100% the truth, because if you study the Bible and you look back to Peter, what happened before Christ went on to the cross, right? They killed him. He says, "Before the cock crows, you will forsake me 3 times." So the one that they're supposed to build the church on forsakes Christ 3 times. In other words, they've interpreted the phrase to say that Christ, God, and God himself is going to build the kingdom, his kingdom here on earth, because thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Thy kingdom is coming to earth, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So what they're trying to tell me, if you read it, listen very closely. Their intent is, this is what this is the interpretation. They want to build the church here on earth on the shoulders of man who forsaked Christ 3 times. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The rock was not man. The rock was gold.
Wow.
That is the correct interpretation of Matthew 16:18. And on this rock, I will build my church. So let's go to page 2. And let me take you further. We are presently, Jean-Claude, in end times. So if we're in end times, Revelation we should start to read portions of Revelation. So if you read Revelation 21:21, and the streets of the city, meaning heaven, were pure gold. Okay, so heaven, the streets, the foundation of heaven is made that of gold.
It's funny the streets are made of gold. In my last interview with David Morgan, he referred to the Wizard of Oz and he said, the yellow brick road. So I'm wondering what else was in that movie that ties into all of this. Go ahead, Bo.
No, and on earth as it is in heaven. So let me ask you a question, Jean-Claude. Before Satan, before Lucifer, that's his name in heaven, was cast out of heaven and got a new name, the new name being Satan, when he was cast to earth, Lucifer, cast to earth, becomes Satan. So before Satan was on earth, where was he? In heaven. So do you think he maybe saw heaven? So wouldn't he know, if you go to page 3, that heaven has a yellow brick road?
Okay. I love it. It's hilarious. Wow.
You understand? So
yeah.
That's where it came from.
Mm.
The yellow brick road is not a random thing. It came from Satan, who basically was Lucifer in heaven. Lucifer in heaven, and knows that heaven, roads, all the roads are paved with gold. So the fact that this movie came out, it was not a coincidence at all. And, you know, why would they have this yellow brick road? Really, where did that come from? Ask yourself. And then why does it go to a city of Oz, OZ, which is a reflection of ounces? Okay, so Satan, so the whole story is a 6,000-year-old story going back to Eden, creation. Nothing more, nothing less. But the story itself is 7,000 years old to be in length, which means that we have another 1,000 years, and if you read the Bible, it's a millennial reign. So we're at the 6,000-year mark. And so on page 4, this is something also that I've just put together. And so how do you build?
Hey, hold on just a second here for the people in the audience who might have said, oh, JC, you're being too cute. No. Actually, Bo just sent me this before we went live, and I hadn't seen that slide, and it was in my mind of the Yellow Brick Road. And also there was something happening earlier today on another show where we were discussing this. So it's bubbling down in the field, and I find it's absolutely pertinent that Bo is bringing this up. And I'm laughing because of all the synchronicities of basically just, the hand of God slapping us in the face here with all of this data. And it all comes back to our childhood where we had one interpretation of how things were, and now we're starting to understand perhaps the deeper meanings of all of this. So thank you. And Jenny Alicia on the screen here says, yes, mind blown. So thank you both. Keep going, man.
Yeah, it's simple. And on this rock, I will build my church. And I was on your show last interview as well, Jean-Claude, and go back to the interview. And not that I don't want any credit for anything I do. Okay, this is biblical things, the prophetic things that I get. I listen to other prophets. I put all pieces together. So these are things that I want to share with the world. But on that last interview, I said God's kingdom will rise with gold. Was that not said? I see God's kingdom will rise with gold. So if God's kingdom is going to rise on this rock, I will build my church, meaning the new era is going to be the birth of the silver gold explosion, which then rocks the world because it's a new financial system that's coming online. And let me think about this one more mind-blowing concept, which I just, which I really want to share with you, Jean-Claude, and your viewers. The foundation, the foundation of everything is the ground. Right? You can't build anything without a solid ground. That's the surface. So that will be the streets. So on this rock, I will build my church. So evil's built a foundation of based on paper. Okay. And the whole thing has been basically a fraud from day one. But the point is, he who controls the monetary supply can build anything and everything he wants because it all stems from the monetary system. So you can't build a church correctly without building it on solid ground. You can't build a family correctly without building it on solid ground. You can't build an education system without building it on solid ground, a government system, a social media system, an entertainment system. All of this entire system that we live in today is built on paper. It's a paper monetary system. So the financial system, so if you go to page 7, so there's seven, they're gates, but there's 7, like the 7 hills of Rome. So the building of a kingdom and the fall of kingdoms and the 7 hills of Rome on page 4.
Okay, and let me go back to 4. Here we go.
Yeah. So the point being is you control the money supply. You can build whatever church you want, meaning you can control it. You can control the family, the education, the governments, the media, the social media, the entertainment, the artists. You basically control everything because the money supply is the foundation of all those things. My point of this presentation is on this rock of gold, I will build my church. Then what's coming is a new everything, right? A new financial system because we built on gold. That's called a kingdom economy because God's money is gold and silver. There's going to be a new church. this new spiritual uprising, a new family system, a new education system, new government, military, media, social media, entertainment, artists. All of this is going to be birthed in the new era starting in November.
And what do you say, Bo, to the people who are hoping to fix the old? In a lot of our shows, I've got people on my show saying, guys, you need to be flexible here because everything that was old was built out of these old energies, a past era, and they must absolutely necessarily fall in order for the new systems to take place. So if you're holding on to the past and trying to fix the past, perhaps that energy is not very conducive to us going back here to the yellow brick road or God's money. What do you say to people who are still hoping that perhaps there's hope in repairing the old?
Well, I would actually, I wanted to stay really focused here. Go to page 7 to answer your question.
Okay.
So click on 7. And the answer is as much as people may want something, the point is, this is a prophecy that was written 6,000 years ago. Okay, so this goes back to the Garden of Eden. And then 2,500 years ago, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream interpreted by Daniel. Daniel gave all the credit to God. The point being was the statue was the head of gold. That was Babylon. Then Persia came to rise, and then Greece, then Rome. And then you had the papacy and the fall of the papacy in 476. And then you had the rise of the United States. And so we've got this statue. The statue, this whole story. So if people want to relive in the old, they can. The problem is, it's over this year. It's over. So the old era, it comes to an end, and a new era comes to life. And as this new era comes to life, anything old gets knocked down. And so you go to page 6, right above it, you'll see the picture of the statue. It's written. This is written in Daniel 2:34. And it says, and as I looked, a stone, which means gold, a rock, was cut out of, not by human hand, and it struck the image at its feet and of iron and clay, and it broke it to pieces. So to answer your question, Jean-Claude, you can't stop what's coming. And that takes you back to the top line there. It says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. You can't stop what's coming. Period. It's an impossibility because the story, back to the page 7, you've already had every single kingdom happen. We just don't have the fall.
Right.
We don't have the fall where the rock comes in and takes down the statue. The rock is going to be gold. That's the birth of the new financial system. So
when you
people want to, people have, for generations have tried to poo-poo, have tried, the Bible's been written 10, 20, 50, 100 different. It doesn't matter. The timeline, you can't change these facts. You can't change it. These are factual events that have happened, and you can't change it. And the statue, this is, how do you go back 2,500 years and nail every, 2,500 years ago, prophecies were written, 2,500 years go by, and every single precise event, kingdom has risen, Persia, Babylon, Greece, all you and so now we just have the fall of the statue. And that's what's coming. So the rock takes it down. And on this rock, Christ, God, I will build my church.
When you say what's coming is coming and it cannot be stopped, I can't help but wonder if that's why, or at least perhaps why, we're seeing all of these negative forces around the world in a hectic pace to get all of their mandates done, as if they're on a clock somewhere that they know about, that they're not sharing with the rest of us. How do you think that ties in? Of course, we can't get into many of those topics here without getting censored, but is that also why we're seeing these cornered animals acting absolutely crazy, making no sense whatsoever, and just being right in your face with all of these mandates and these crazy, I guess, force measures? I'll just say that for this show here. What are your thoughts on how that ties in, perhaps with the timeline there? And then
again, let's stick on point here with the PDF presentations, because then your viewers can go into more details. Okay. Yeah. So scroll down to page 59. So as you're talking, I'm getting the slides for you to answer your question. Yep. So on page 59, and many of your viewers have already seen this presentation here. So page 59, this talks about the 7-year cycle. Okay. So, and before that, there was a prior 7-year cycle, and you can actually see that on, actually, let's start on page 57. Sorry, Jean-Claude.
Okay, no
So
problem.
this was the first 7-year cycle. Okay, we're not going to go into the details of that, but look at it. It's crazy. It's freaky. Okay, but that was the first 7-year cycle. Then you go to the next 7-year cycle. So then 7 shows up at page 58. 777 shows up at page 58. And then you go to page 59, right? And this is his cycle. So the point being, so the answer.
Bo, I think we just lost you. You seem to be frozen on the screen.
Well, if you go back, so they're coming in on his.
Okay, hold on, Bo. We lost you for a second there. I think we lost the last phrase. If you can backtrack maybe 50 seconds and repeat what you were saying. We couldn't hear you.
Okay, so if you start at page 58.
Yeah.
So 777s comes in. Okay, 45. 777 comes in. You'll understand why I'm saying 777s if you read that presentation. And then you go to page 59. Now, page 59 talks about his cycle. This is his cycle. He's anointed by God. So many people want to believe it or not. I don't care. The point is that mathematics behind it is impossible unless it was ordained by God. So the mathematics of what I've shown on page 58 and into page 59 is mathematically impossible. And this even ties in with oil going to zero, of our prior presentations and the whole Noah cycle. So page 58 is in page 59 is it's we're in it right now. Okay. So to answer your question of before, so the reason they're freaking out and going crazy is because they're trying to stop the fall of the giant. Okay. They're coming in on the wrong cycle. They're coming in too early. This is not their cycle. And so, Isaiah 61 states, this is the year of the Lord's favor, but the day of his vengeance, Jean-Claude. So like you're saying, it's going to be in a moment's time. Okay. Well, think about what the Red Sea was. The Red Sea didn't take a week. It was one day. The Red Sea opened, Israel crossed. But first, before the Red Sea opened, Israel was pinned up against the Red Sea. Moses, why have you brought us here to die? Helpless. Moses states, stand still and watch the salvation of the Lord, for he will work for you today. Raises his staff, and then boom, the water opens. Okay. Could you imagine being there and watching this Red Sea open? I don't know how to even discern what that was, but all I can tell you is Israel crossed, and then Pharaoh and his army. So the actual movie says Pharaoh, went back to his wife. No. Pharaoh and his army went into that Red Sea. Yeah. And then God killed them all. He crushed them with the Red Sea, and they're all gone. So this Red Sea ended up separating Israel and Egypt. And my question to you again is, Jean-Claude, how long did that event take?
Yeah, just one day.
Yeah, hours, day, whatever. It didn't take a week. So when you're hearing from other people, people that you're working with, you're hearing stuff like in an instant, suddenly, quick, whatever the words are that they're.
The tower card moment comes up a lot. Yeah, it's very sudden. Yes,
it's very sudden, right? Yeah. So just understand that no one knows the day or the hour, because just like the return of Christ, no one knows the day or the hour. So I do not know, and I cannot profess to know the day or the hour of this event, Jean-Claude, but I do know that it's coming. And I knew that, and then Isaiah 61 is, the year of the Lord's favor and the day of his vengeance. So to answer your question is, the reason is because they're coming in on the 777 cycle, on the 45 cycle. They're coming in at the wrong time. Their time window is page 60. So Revelation gives them a time window. They are allotted a time window. So this is my best calculation. I might change it later on, but as of now, okay, this is the time window because God does give them a time window. And all that's happened right now in this, remember I said November to November, right? Yeah. All that is back to, your Wizard of Oz, little story. What happened at the end? They get there and they'll open the gate up. They'll look behind the veil. Yeah. Right. And so what we're seeing right now, listen very closely, we are seeing.
Bo, you just froze again at the most inopportune time. Hold on, folks. We're having some issue, I guess, with Bo's connection. Mine seems to be perfectly strong here tonight. We'll see if we can get Bo back here.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Bo, are you back? Okay.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, sure.
You're about to tell us something, and then you just froze.
So I'm not sure what happened. So if we go back to Wizard of Oz, and they walk in, they look behind the veil, the curtain, and what do they find? Just some little guy, right? And so, but the point being is this last 12 months from November to November, what we have had opportunity and what they've shown us, Jean-Claude, is a look behind their veil.
Yeah.
So we have now seen what their agenda is. So I want to go back to our prior presentations and everything I've repeated numerous times. They are coming in early. They have shown you, your viewers, us, me, they have shown their cards.
Yeah.
You know what their agenda is because we've had a look behind their veil. Please pay attention, the viewers, because if we have a look behind their veil, you see what their agenda is, and it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen behind their veil. Now we're going to have the day of the Lord's vengeance where everything changes. But do not celebrate, like you said. Act, because we're in tight times and their window is still coming. They're going to return, Jean-Claude, with a new color, a new name, new names, okay? But they will return after they get knocked down. These people are going to freak out. Then they will return with new everything, new flag, whatever you want to call it, but they're coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And this time they don't get knocked down until Christ shows up. So my point being is that there's going to be 3.5 years of absolute hell on earth if you haven't prepared. So that is the essence of what I want you to answer your question. Okay. They're coming in early. They do have a time window for when they will return. But the point being is that, this is not a time to celebrate, when God's kingdom comes back on earth, because his kingdom truly isn't back on earth until Christ returns. So we need to now build so we're going to have the building of his kingdom for the return of Christ. So that is the essence of this long-term story, the 6,000-year story, because then we have another 1,000 years of rest.
Let me get into that because you piqued my interest with the 6,000 years also. So you talked about these prophecies that all came true and all of these kingdoms here, and now we're missing the fall. But of course, this wouldn't be where the woo-woo meets the Bible if we didn't talk about the woo-woo. On your page 4 here, you cited a video from Cliff High. Now, typically, I always ask...
Page 5.
Page 5, yes. I typically ask Cliff before I play any stuff from his, and I didn't get his permission here just before the show. But what I can share with the audience is this video here, which I've talked about with Cliff on one of our shows. It was Woo Time. So guys, go check that out. But
it's the 10-minute mark.
At the 10-minute mark on the Woo Time video. So why don't you take a minute or two here, Bo, and explain what he's talking about here, and how that ties in also to this same 6,000-year story here, looking at it from two very different perspectives, but still talking about the same subject matter.
Well, right. See, this is the thing. I got to give complete, credit to Cliff. The guy's an absolute genius. People who've listened to your show know who Cliff is. The guy's a genius. You got, no one can do. I think he's the foremost data mining expert in the world. And so, what is he mining? He's mining words. His computer is mining words. Well, what do prophets do? They speak. The point being is God's word will not come back void. So Cliff, as genius as he is picking up key critical words. And so of my prior presentations for the past 2 years, these 2 slides have been in there on page 5 on the left side. And it shows clearly it's a 4-2-1 cycle. 4,000 years of the Jews, 2,000 of the Gentiles, and then 1,000-year millennial reign, which is a 7,000-year cycle. So we're ending the 6,000-year cycle and approaching the millennial reign. And just like, we talked about, this has always been a battle, a 6,000-year battle for the promised land, for Israel.
Wow. Wow. Of course, folks, go watch this video here again. He's talking about, as a placeholder, the bug.
The cult. Yeah, he calls it the bug, but
the death cult.
Yeah. The death cult. It's they're the demonics, the evil ones, right? Says, and then this is his words, and I'm going to quote him precisely. He says, "The cult that is going to be exposed is known to be 6,000 years old."
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't even older. So, but because remember, creation was 6,000 years ago, and then Adam and Eve in the garden, and that was the whole story. And then before that was this kingdom, and then that kingdom, there could be another kingdom before that. Well, we probably know there was, because we know that there's what do you call the kingdom of Antarctica? What was that? What was in the Antarctica? What was hidden in the? What are they? I'm sorry, I can't think of the word. Atlantis, right? Atlantis is probably, so we've probably got that hidden in Antarctica. So that's another kingdom. So right now, but that's this whole. So evil probably resided then, and that was probably the fall of that kingdom too. But so the kingdom that we are describing here is a 6,000-year kingdom that we're completing, and we're about to enter the seventh thousand years. So so about the 7,000-year cycle. So so we got 6,000 years plus another 1,000 of millennial reign with Christ, and there you go. There is your 7,000 years back to the number 7. But it all rotates around number 7, and that's how I've come up with 90% of my calculations that I'm showing you here on this interview, and of all prior interviews as well.
Wow. Fascinating to put all of this in perspective. Can we, at this point, do you have more?
So then to answer your question, so we're moving. Yeah. So the title of this presentation, what is it? Where woo-woo meets the Bible. All I'm trying to have your viewers understand is nothing that I'm describing is contradicted by woo-woo, because they both start at 6,000 years ago. It's just we're looking at it in two different directions. But we're coming to the same conclusion that, on Cliff's side, that, something major is about to happen. And from biblically, prophetically, that's the fall of the statue, it's the complete fall of the statue that was described to Nebuchadnezzar by Daniel. And then Isaiah states that this is, right there, it's the fall of the statue. And then it's the rise of the kingdom. And what kingdom is going to rise out of it? Well, it's, if you can go to page 19. And so that's the new era. So the page above that basically shows the fork in the road of what happens in November. So on page 17, so we go back to November, and then we head into November into the new era as we go to the right, not left anymore. So it's a redo. It's a restart. And then page 19, back to page 19, is the starting, of heaven coming to earth. It's getting closer. Heaven's coming closer to earth. So we're gonna have a financial system based on a rock. And on this rock, I will build my church. God's money. The financial system will be based on God's money that will never, this is the only financial instrument that's never been able to break for 5,000 years since they've been using it, right? It's never broken. Why? Because it's the rock. Yeah. And on this rock, I will build my church. This new kingdom that's coming is going to be built on a foundation of gold. And then from there, the new church will rise, the new family will rise, the new education will rise, the new government and military will rise, the media, new social media will come to be, new entertainment, new artists, because the financial system is based on gold and you can't mess with it. And because of that, you're going to have a whole new era of everything new. And it all begins here, October into November. Particularly, I believe month of November is critically epic for what's coming. And that coordinates with, gold and silver cycles they're just waiting until they just rip vertical. Okay. And that's all I'm seeing right now. But cryptos are actually more predictable, and they're front running gold and silver. So the crypto cycles are agreeing with what I'm describing to you.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to talk about the cup and handle formation all of these years into the making? Do you want to bring that in a little bit for the audience, or we can?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've talked. So that'll be on page 35.
Mm-hmm. Let me bring this up. Hold on a second here. I just lost my cue because I had something else set up. There you go. 35.
Yes, 35.
All right. There you go.
So if you look on page 35, one that's page 34. I thought.
Hold on. I thought it was. Oh, there you go. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. So when you click on page 35, basically the top left side, the top chart is basically an example of a cup and handle chart pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It's just an example. And anybody who understands, just look. You don't need to understand charting, but just look at the general picture. Okay. Look at the picture below that. That's silver present day. Mm-hmm. The point being is that you've got a cup and you've got a handle. The top left, that's the far side of the 1980. And that was the Hunt brothers taking up to $50. Okay. And so since the Hunt brothers, all that's happened, as incredible as it is, for whatever, 40 years, you've just had an absolutely perfect cup and handle form. Yeah. And all we're waiting for is the day of vengeance with the birth of the kingdom economy. The kingdom economy is when that top handle breaks and gold and silver rip vertical and never look back. So that is the birth of God's kingdom. On this rock, I will build my church. Mm-hmm. That moment in time is when the top of that handle breaks.
And we're close to it now, too. Again, from the Wu perspective, the tarot card readers, the seers, the remote viewers, they're looking at October and November as big critical months for the moves upward. And what was interesting also, clips of this in the last video of his, that perhaps China would be leading the way in the revaluation, if only to get out from this bond problem they're having with Evergrande, and how that has huge ramifications. And what he was saying is that because so many other countries around the planet are also in difficult positions, just like we're having the debt ceiling debacle here in the United States, that perhaps the other countries would not disagree to this reset. And this would be one of the first resets of many here of gold and silver, but just an indication that what was old is now new, seeing that we're moving into a completely new era of monetary finance. What are your thoughts on how perhaps China has a role to play in here?
Well, you know what, if you look at what they did, right, so as the truth gets out, I think everybody's going to be fleeing, considering what's happened. So the truth is going to change. It's like the Bible said, the truth will set you free. Well, the truth will set God's money free. Mm-hmm. It will set the kingdom economy free. It will set, the beginning of the birth of God's kingdom here, like we're really just seeing the massive shift, the birth of the new era. Okay. If you scroll over to page 17, I want to show you that all of this has been orchestrated by God thousands of years ago. None of this is a coincidence. So if you look at page 17, I know we've talked about this in the past, but the May 26th of this past year, okay, that was a starting point, and that related to all the blood moons and are more so the eclipses. And that we don't have to go through. That was on page 14 for your viewers. Don't do it today. So page 14. So basically, at page 17 is what we're looking at right now, and then that takes us all the way up to August 24th, and that's tipping point. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about this, but at 90 degrees or August 24th, what happened there was rather something quite interesting. Hold it up here. But on that date, sorry here.
It's okay.
I can't. Just August 24th. That's when Russia and Saudi Arabia signed the new pact, the military pact, right? Well,
here, let me bring it up for you. There you go.
Yeah, and so this is really important because for generations, the United States has backed Saudi Arabia. So Goliath has now on shaky ground. It's a tipping point. So because that event happened on August 24th, to me, that is specifically the event that's the triggering event as we head into next year, and particularly the next 90 days or 90 degrees. So from that time point, we head over to November 22nd, which happens to be the date JFK was assassinated. So I don't have anything to do with it, but it's kind of interesting. That's 180 days exactly from May 26th or 90 days from August 24th. Now, biblically in the Bible, there's one of the most important numbers in the Bible is 40. You know, there's 40 days and 40 nights. You know, you study that in the Bible, but that's a critically important time point. So if we do 40 days and 40 nights from Rosh Hashanah, what Rosh Hashanah is the start of New Year. So the start of New Year, 40 days and 40 nights, takes us to just after the middle of October. 45 days takes us to October 21. So the point being is that 40 days and 40 nights is rather epic in the Bible many times. That is, you know, shown to be an extremely important time point. So it's interesting that from September 6th, Rosh Hashanah, remember, it's not Jewish New Year, it's God's New Year. 40 days and 40 nights is exactly October 16th. 45 days will be the 21st. The point being right on or after middle October, it's interesting time point. Charts are pointing to a lot, you know, things could be going off at that time point as well. So
well,
we're in
October,
Jubilee.
So second week, the third week of October, Cliff High is also seeing a big spike in his graph, and he's talking about, I think the way he words it is a media casualty. So something is going to happen to basically create a casualty in one or maybe more of the mainstream media. So what narrative breaks at that point, which, you know, the emperor has no clothes type of moment, but he's pointing at this time frame as well, somewhat time between maybe October 15th and the 25th, I think. So you're pretty dead on those dates also there.
Yeah, and you know, and then Rosh Hashanah started with the Evergrande debacle, right? And the bonds in China. So what is it's like last Rosh Hashanah was the death of Ginsburg.
Right.
This Rosh Hashanah is the Evergrande debacle in China. It's incredible how these massive big events, because remember, an Evergrande, I believe it's like a 300 billion type problem. Like it's massively larger than what we saw with the Lehman Brothers, like multiples bigger. Yeah. So that's how all this is transpiring. And it's fascinating that it started on Rosh Hashanah, September 6th. 40 days takes us into October, a little bit longer, you know, and we're right into November. So not November, you know, middle of November, the 22nd takes us 90 degrees, 90 days. So if that's Goliath, he's flat on his face by November 22nd, and he's fully upside down by February 20th of next year. So the whole system is upside down on its head.
Just so you know, in price predictions from some of the other readers on my show, they've confirmed the $600 silver before Christmas. And they're also talking about, for some reason, and they don't know why, but they're all saying the same thing, around $2,000 silver for February of 2022, right on that upside down moment there.
Well, yes, February 20th of 2022. Yeah. So that would be the upside. And remember, and the trigger event we know was on the date was August 24th, and that date was the Russia-Saudi contract.
And this is how you and I kicked off the Death of the Petrodollar series on our show. And folks, if you haven't seen that, we started here with Bo POLNY about a month ago. And if you haven't seen this series, please do go and watch it. Quite a great lineup of guests there explaining how this was actually a big pivotal moment, even though in mainstream media, it was kind of like a nothing burger, nothing happened here, don't look over here. There was much to discuss there. So please do go and check out that series if you haven't already seen it. All right, back to you, Bo.
Sure. No, I just the whole thing is coming together beautifully, and that chart really describes how God's kingdom starts to rise. And based on what I'm gathering was then the world goes right into the new era in November. God's kingdom starts to rise. The kingdom economy is rising, because remember, God's money rises with his kingdom, because on this rock I will build my church. So God is building his church on a foundation of rock, gold, just like that in heaven. And you know that you cannot create gold, manipulate, you know, like you can manipulate it, but that thing is going to be dead, right? So those people are going to be gone. So ultimately you're going to have a solid monetary system that everything that I described earlier will be built on. How beautiful is that? So right now, the world is what you're looking right there. The world is based on a paper monetary system, right? So evil uses paper and creates it to infinity.
And you know
And
what's
where did he
funny?
get that? Where did Satan know to create the movie Yellow Brick Road? Give me a break. Because he saw it in heaven.
Right. And this whole paper fiat to one of the great sound bites from this series was Rob Kirby. He said, Jean-Claude, he said, pay attention here. Because I asked him a question, what should people do? He says, if you don't understand that everybody on the planet has already de-dollarized, you're the last one in the room holding these paper, whatever IOUs. You might want to act sooner rather than later. So that was Rob Kirby, another Canadian fellow of mine. So guys, again, that was a great clip there. But let's talk about timing here a little bit. We're at the end of our road here and perhaps entering on this road. How soon do you see maybe action starting here? Do you want to talk about some of that timing here, whether it's gold,
go to
silver,
page
or
72. I made this for you, Jean-Claude. Go to page 72.
Okay, let me see. So people are going to say to me, how do I action this, JC? All right, here you go.
There you go. So, see, I look at the world based on cycles.
Mm-hmm.
I do timeline calculations, and then I base the world, on where there's big moves. So on a chart, if you see a big move happen, or either up or down, there's an event that is associated with it. It just makes sense, right? So the charts are pointing to a very large move in cryptocurrencies coming. So my subscribers regularly we do 3-4 updates a week. This is the cycle chart on page 1. I've blocked off what's coming because I have to keep that private for subscribers.
Yeah.
But you can see if you look on the left side of the page, the top one is Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom chart is a historic cycle.
Wow.
Is that rather incredible?
That's tracking pretty incredible. Yeah.
So how did we know that Bitcoin bottomed on July 22nd?
Uh-huh.
Because it's that which is the Bible states, that which has been will be again. There is nothing new under the sun. You just need to know where to look.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my specialty. I know where to look.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
My point being is that, so you got to admit, from point 1 to point 2, right to the day, July 21st, 22nd, it turns up on the 22nd, and then it goes up into 3. And that date was, I think, September, first week of September, some
September
to the
6th.
mark.
Yeah.
Like to the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns down, and everyone's like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going back down. Yeah, it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now we're heading into point 4. So point 4 is the next low. And it's, let's just say, without giving the date, it's like really soon. Like really soon. Like this week. Like I don't
Right.
We're here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Without giving it too much away. And then we get into the move up, and then you get an explosion. So you get an explosion into 5.
Mm-hmm.
And
probably
we're going to new
it probably doesn't
highs.
fit on this chart.
What's that?
It probably doesn't fit on this chart. We'd have to redo the scale here.
Yes, exactly. That's precisely it. But basically, so we have the cycle. As insane as that we're looking at there, that is what my subscribers get. And it's crazy. It blows my mind when I look at this every morning. Like, wow. And then like, and it's, if you look at the charts, they're not, the mid cycles are a little off, but what I found in cycles is the pivotal dates seem to land within the mark within 24 hours sometimes. It's fascinating. And so we're at the next pivot is this week. So why actually I said to you we should do an interview this week just to give your viewers some hope that the Bitcoin's not crashing.
Right. Even though China wants to ban all crypto transactions.
Yeah, for like the 20th time already.
In doubt in the market.
The day they did that, read my reports, I'm like, and I'm we're looking at the charts, right? We're going, that's funny. That's actually entertaining and funny is what I wrote,
Yeah, everybody shrugged that off like, oh, come on, it's a buying opportunity. And I was tweeting at it this day, like, back up the truck. It's time to buy when China is telling you again, this time it's really, really serious. They're going to ban Bitcoin. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. Very funny. That's to answer your question on timing. October is the turn. Okay.
Back up. And off this, you don't have another down. It's going to basically get an explosion. Mm-hmm. We have a time point for the explosion. So we actually have that. I'll give it to you later after the show today.
Okay.
And so you'll have the date. It's give or take usually 24, 48 hours. Okay. And we'll have an explosion there. And then from the explosion, then it goes up and it's going to rip vertical. And then it gets volatile. Then we're going to spike and slam down, spike higher, slam down. So it's going to be exciting and volatile as all heck. But we're going to new all-time highs. We're breaking through 100,000, and it's going to be a good year. It's and it's interesting to see what the final price target will be. I've got a couple of targets that I could hit, but to me, more of the timing.
Yeah.
Like you see that the timing. It's when the next cycle turn hits is important. So we're going to watch.
And do you feel that gold and silver are going to track relatively close to this? How do you put that into the equation for the precious metals?
So two things I want to answer your question on that. Number one is they're lagging.
Yeah.
So we might see Bitcoin rip this month, and it might take a little longer for gold and silver to do, because they're remember, when gold and silver go vertical, it's the birth of a new era.
That's it. We're there. Yeah.
We're there. It's the birth of a new era. It's game over. These people are toast. Okay.
Yeah.
So they will fight till they can't anymore to not let that event happen.
Right.
Okay. And so when that event happens, it's the end of the financial system as we know it. That doesn't mean it's going to go to zero, but my point is it's the end, like the birth of the new era of the new financial system. The kingdom economy is birthed. Right. And then we've got, that's the third seal of revelation, which is basically the tipping of the scales.
Right. And again, just to get out of the fear of frequency, some people might hear that it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. No, we're not saying it's the end of the world. It's a birth of a new one. So just to switch it around a little bit here.
Yeah, okay. But then please go back to my presentation, I think slide 58 with the other ones about the timelines that are coming later on. You better be prepared, and do stuff to get prepared, because the next one after that, I think.
Oh, this one here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna get bad. And it's not going to be 1 year. 3.5 years minimum of what you're seeing right now, and 3.5 years work up to it.
Yeah. So
I just beg you people to listen, because listen to the timelines I'm showing you. We're getting into a window of time, but it's a time of grace given to the world by God.
Yeah.
To prepare.
Going back to the tracking between precious metals and crypto, there's a little bit of a downside here in crypto. You're saying it's just off on the right screen here of the chart. Do you also see perhaps some downward pressure on precious metals before they too spike up, maybe in lag time a month later down? Or do you see kind of a
Yeah, I see my best guess, because it's so manipulated right now, but basically, up, down, up, down, it's just fight. But I think that there's a stable level there. There's a stable level, and then just boom, explosion coming. And I believe they're gonna lag, and then they're gonna, because cryptos are front running the whole deal. When the gold and silver finally do explode, it's literally the birth of a new financial system. Right. It's a third seal of revelation moment. It's the fall of Goliath. It's the rock. On this rock I will build my church. So it's that moment in time, and then. To further answer your question, I believe there's going to, because cryptos have been front running gold and silver for so long, next year will be interesting. We're going to have to see how the patterns play. But right now, I believe next year, 2022, I know that the kingdom economy is rising with God and his kingdom.
So you think that silver and gold are going to lead crypto next year? It's going to invert the wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I believe that's the caution for all the crypto bugs for next year.
Right.
Kingdom economy does not particularly mean gold, Bitcoin.
Right.
But ultimately, it's still a new financial system.
Right.
Just
and then perhaps the advent
because remember.
There might be some cryptos that are backed by gold and silver. Clefai was also alluding to that perhaps they would use something like Veritasium to kind of tie all of that in together into this new system here. So that's still perhaps
but
in
first
the cards.
You have to have but to answer your question, you have to have the wipeout crash.
Right. Actually, that's what Cliff was saying too. He says, no, we're too early for that. It needs to crash before that gets there.
That's what my charts are basically saying, that there's a massive wipeout coming.
Yeah. All right. So for the people who are looking for precious metals, we have a little bit of a sideways move here. So again, you have more time to prepare and to maybe back up the truck, or dollar cost averaging here as you have your paychecks as you prepare. Again, there's a lot to prepare for, as Bo has just pointed out. So let me bring up Andy Sheckman from Miles Franklin. He was excited about the show tonight, and he gave us a special in the context here of God's money. So let me play that few second clip here for you guys.
Hey guys, it's Andy Sheckman again. I know you recognize my face as a regular contributor to JC's show, and I love the episodes that he puts out, including the Where the Woo Woo Meets the Bible episode. And since we're talking God's money, I wanted to offer something special that we would be able to offer at a good price to the public. We have the 10-ounce Nadir silver bars, brand new at $2.65 over spot. I'm very confident that's the best price in the country. Nothing but the best for JC and his group. Love you guys. Thanks.
All right, guys, you can find that special at beyondmystic.net/God's money. Now back to the show.
To add on to that, I compliment on what he does with the silver, fantastic, nice man. I want to add, I don't want to give people advice on how to buy silver, but be careful, because you want to grab as much silver as possible. That's my take on it, versus paying for premium and spreads or expensive coins. Because there's no guarantee that someone's going to pay you the coin value.
Yeah.
But there is a guarantee that someone's going to pay you for the silver.
Right.
Okay.
That's why they always say a man's worth is weight in either gold or silver. We were talking about ounces here, not premiums or collectibles.
And that's why recently, because of the spreads and on all the Eagles, things like that, I've just been loading up on I love the 10 ounces. Those are great, fantastic coins. So I got to compliment that's a great choice.
Andy and I were talking before the show exactly about this. I'm like, okay, maybe for the last 10 years, there's a lot of people playing those spreads with collectible coins, making money, and then going back in and increasing their stack. That game could be almost
There's no more game time. It's just get in.
Exactly. At this point, it's all a matter of how many ounces do you have. So at 265 over spot, guys, that's absolutely amazing. And again, that's beyondmystic.net/God's money is the coupon code form exclusive for you guys here for this episode. So let me bring that down in the chat for you guys. Okay, so that's the link there. Bo, man, we're already an hour in. Is there anything else I missed here in your presentation that we need to bring forward to the audience, or can we get here to perhaps some of your services? Because I know a lot of people in the chat right now are saying, hey, how can I get into these charts here and to maybe play this market a little bit more closely than just being a hodler? What kind of services do you have for them here, and what can we offer the audience?
Well, same thing, Jean-Claude. Everything I do is for the glory of God. I want to wake up the church. I want to wake up the people, the ecclesia. The ecclesia is the people. I want to wake them up. That is my purpose. And so that is my number one goal. But yes, on the other side of it, I do personally have learned how to use and analyze charts and patterns. So I share that. So I do share that with people. I'm getting a little feedback there.
Okay, let me mute myself. Keep going.
Okay. So, and I share that with the world if they want to buy it. So go to my website, Gold 2020 Forecast, the Bitcoin Index. If you click the page 72, right above that, Jean-Claude, 72 will actually show you that cycle. It shows you the continuation of it. So for your viewers that want to know, what Bitcoin's going to do, when's it going to spike, when it will explode vertical, when's it expected to, at least, when is next cycle 0.5 coming, when are these big moves coming? We have the pattern. I share it on 3 to 4 days a week with my subscribers. Page below, go get the Bitcoin Index, use the code for Jean-Claude Mystic 49, and you'll save 50% for the first 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, you'll actually see the cycle patterns that we have there. So at $49, you could see what we do, and particularly that chart pattern that I illustrated on page 72. So if you want that, go to get the Bitcoin Index and make sure you use that code Mystic 49, and you will end up getting it at half price. And then you can see the chart patterns.
That's excellent, Bo. And Psalm 37 is asking, does Gene have a crypto education course? No, I do not, but Bo does. So Bo, talk about that for the people who are just now getting into crypto. How do they get started, get their wallet set up, and do their first transaction and all this stuff? How can you help them?
Yeah, so go to the next page.
Yeah.
You've been doing this as long as I have, maybe longer, who knows? Or we're probably doing the similar time for cryptocurrencies, right? Yes. So you and I have, in my head, I've developed a flow chart of, start with here. There's basically what I've come to realize. There's 7 steps. Crazy enough, but there's 7 steps to cryptocurrencies. Okay?
7, you say?
7, yes. So I drove them all out, and then basically my son's really good with computer and tech, and so he and audio video. So he wanted to help, and he's very kind of a busy kind of kid. So I showed him the roadmap, and then he created videos for each exact step. I reviewed everything with him. So on page 74, it's called Easy Crypto School, and it's exactly it. It's easy, and it's a crypto school. And use the code Mystic39, and you can get it from $80. You can get it down for $39, and basically, if you follow those steps, you won't screw up. Trust me, Jean-Claude, I've lost many more times than $39. I'm sure you have too. I've lost hundreds and probably thousands sometimes setting cryptos. You know what I'm saying? So, or what they're worth today relative to what I lost, back then when we were first figuring this stuff out. So it's, it's 7 steps from A to Z. For those people who have zero clue about crypto, go get his course, $39, and you will not be disappointed.
So there you go, guys. That is, you can find that at gold2020forecast.com. Again, all of the links to this are in the description box below if you guys are watching this on the replay. But if you're in the live stream now, you can see the link. I just posted that there. And also, I recommend you guys go and subscribe to Gold 2020 Forecast here on YouTube. You're at 68,000 and growing strong. What is there anything else coming up here that you want to share with the audience?
Page 76. For those interested, if you want to get a part of, being this massive change, I'm actually speaking at a Patriots Arise for God and Country it's in Frederick, Maryland, the end of October. So anybody who's out there in Maryland, you want to come say hi, I will be there. So I just want to do a quick shout out.
All right, let me bring their link down in the live chat and do them a favor also for the audience, so you guys can click on that hot link and go check that out. Awesome. And back to your YouTube channel, is there anything else here either recently that you've posted that people should be watching, or is there any new interviews that you're looking forward here to share with the audience?
Just this Friday, I have one scheduled with the Wild West Crypto Boys and Lois Vogel-Sharp. She, in my opinion, is one of the premier prophets here in the world. So I love her. And she is one of the prophets that for a long time has been talking about gold and silver. So I think it's worth your viewers' time to pay attention, because other prophets talk about a lot of, different things, but she particularly, numerous prophecies, has brought up gold and silver. So it should be a nice chat. And I love Lois. She's a very beautiful lady.
Awesome. And we got a lot of love in the chat. Another spectacular show tonight. Thank you to Bo and JC. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, for that coupon code, that's beyondmystic.net/God's Money. And if you're also interested in some woo as it pertains to crypto, please do check out our last Beyond Crypto Woo report with Janine here. We went into the timing of the fall, gold and silver, the rise, and also quite a few of your favorite cryptos here to give you an indication as to what that flow might look like here in the next couple of weeks and months moving forward. So that's Beyond Crypto Woo, and that's episode number 5. And I have to say, it's probably our best episode yet. And I know I say that every time we do an episode, but we keep on outdoing ourselves in bringing the woo with the technical side of things. And I think this one, where it came clear to all of us, and I named the episode this way. I said, this time it's different, and why this time is different. And again, Bo's presentation again tonight is also showing you why this time is different. Everything is coming to a head right now. We are in the thick of things. Folks, that was Time-Space Continuum, where the woo-woo meets the Bible. Of course, my guest tonight was Mr. Bo POLNY. You can find him at gold2020forecast.com. And I'm Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe here at Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic 3. Love you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
God bless.